At Morgan State University, the protest continues. At this hour, students are attending a forum to air their gripes about conditions on campus. Education reporter Debbie Wright is standing by live at Morgan State with this report. Deb?
Well, and students are still filing into Murphy Auditorium here on the campus of Morgan State University, where they're going to be holding an open forum with school administrators to voice some of the many concerns that they have. Now, the concerns of the students really runs the gamut. They're concerned about everything from security issues to what one student called deplorable conditions of rat and rodent infestation in some of the dorms. But the students' main concern has to do with the level of state funding at the school, and that's why they staged an overnight sit-in.
We were the first generation of children of the civil rights.
We were the babies of the hip-hop generation.
It was live.
We were babies of shows like School Days,
Spike Lee's School Days,
Different World.
Cosby Show. Cosby Show was on and was extremely popular, and a Different World rolled out. Denise went away to college. A fictional HBCU.
So there was kind of like this bright light, if you will, on HBCUs and what was possible if you could just make it to someone's campus.
Most of America did not know what to make of us. All they knew about black people was our trauma. Nah, it's not drama. Theo won't clean up his room. No, America hadn't seen that before. Sandra's coming home from where? That was just one representation. There's a ton of nuance between, let's say, the Huxtables and the Evans family. Between Good Times and the Cosby Show, there's a ton of nuance in here that America never even knew existed. We were in the middle of the crack epidemic. Crack was running rampant.
I tell my students today that I grew up during Reagan's war on drugs, and I can still remember those television commercials with Nancy Reagan, Just Say No. And
Just Say No.
Where they crack the egg into the skillet. This is your brain.
This is your brain on drugs.
The mass incarceration was in full swing. The school to prison pipeline was now a thing. The strides that the civil rights movement had made, they were already in 1990, we're only talking 20 something years later, they're already trying to repeal this and get it out of here and so on and so forth.
So to put some things in historical context, the Voting Rights Act just passed in 1965. So I was born soon after that. And I'm the first woman on my mom's side of the family born with 100% civil rights.
Historically, black colleges are a byproduct of American racism. It reflects the pain of neglect and discrimination, as well as the activism in the struggle to overcome that discrimination.
The students say they want more state money for their school because they say that other state schools have bigger budgets and get bigger yearly increases than Morgan does.
About 200 angry Morgan State students today took over an office in the university's administration building, demanding changes in financial aid, student housing, registration procedures, and campus security. The students shouted comments and questions to President Earl Richardson and Vice President for Student Affairs Raymond Downs. Both administrators were at Downs' office in Truth Hall, where they tried to address the protesters who had begun the sit-in at 8:30 a.m.
Yeah, man. The director of the Morgan State Police Force was in investigating how officers handled the melee. Yeah, they called it a melee. We weren't fighting. We were just protesting.
This movement here, our staying overnight, is to document our seriousness and the means that we will go to see that the needs of this university are met, because we love our university.
1989 was a very interesting year in the state. Our mayor, William Donald Schaefer, had gone to Annapolis and he was now governor. That gave the city a little extra cachet to have the former mayor, who was very popular, down in the State House. But there were rough times because you had the recession, you had some economic impact, and that trickled down to a lot of agencies and academia as well. And a lot of the schools, Morgan included, wanted to retain its independence. It felt that its identity, its legacy, and its history as an historically black college and university, HBCU, was very vital to hanging on to its independence. And Earl Richardson drove that bus. He was trying very hard to keep Morgan moving and moving ahead. Student enrollment had gone up to 4,000, which was a great benchmark for them. The campus itself was, what I remember from taking tours of it, was in terrible need of repairs. I was shocked.
We were in dorms that hadn't been renovated in forever.
Literally, you could not walk barefoot on the floor because you would burn your feet. So it was extreme heat. I would sleep in the windowsill to get the air.
Not just maintenance issues, but construction issues. You could sit in some places in Jenkins Hall and literally look through cracks to the outside of the building.
They're falling apart. I could see whatever this is. That's not asbestos, it's asbestos cousin.
To register for classes, you have to stand in line in the Hill Fieldhouse for 2 or 3 days. Only 1 or 2 people are there working in the registrar's computer. That sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work.
It's bad. It's bad. And we're making it work, but why do I have to make it work? If we're the cream of the crop, if we're the future of the nation, if we are the kids who did everything right to get here, how come we're still in struggle while we are here?
Everybody gets to their breaking point, right, where you've had enough.
The spirit of the students is that they wanted change, and they wanted it now.
Besides saving money, I was working at WBAL TV, and I don't know how I got the assignment, but I thought it was going to be a one and done. You go over, students are upset about, the dormitories, and that's it. Well, this thing lasted much longer than a one-night news package. I do remember just the organization in that they said, we have a spokesperson. No need to go across campus. And I remember this young man, I'm not sure if I'd cut my high top fade by then or not, but I remember someone who was very serious, and everybody you talked to said, no, you want to go to him.
Of course, everyone wanted to have a say-so. But there were some folks who were overly animated than others. And so we just pretty much had to boil it down to the folks who better served being able to get the message out.
Travis Mitchell emerged as the leader for this movement. I had no idea who Travis Mitchell was, and I knew everybody. I was like, who's Travis Mitchell? Who is Travis Mitchell? I never even heard of Travis Mitchell. Who's his girlfriend? Who he hang out with? Does he drink? Who's he party with? I had no idea, and then I heard him speak.
How many people here are willing to sit in?
If the governor will not meet with us, we are prepared to sit in until we get results.
Oh, Travis Mitchell. Whoever that dude is, he's that dude.
We had sat down, the task force, some of the leaders, and said, okay, we need to actually put some structure to this. We were early on other roles. So we chose the corresponding secretary to get out information to everybody. We chose a recording secretary to document every meeting that we had. Nothing more important here than choosing Travis as our speaker. It was influential. Our front man. We told him, your job is to verbalize all actions and intentions for the media. Not to get into no arguments with nobody. Not to get into no fights. Travis said, he was riled up too.
I was drafted by the late, great Earl Muzon as a classmate of ours who we all consider the leader of the movement. Well, Our knowledge base and our understanding of what was happening to Morgan systemically started with that first data point. From 1950 to 1979, if you've only had a roughly $750,000 in what's known as maintenance, and that maintenance has been deferred, well, that's a little less than roughly about $10,000 or more a year, a little bit more. How are you going to fix up dormitories with that amount of money over that period of time? To juxtapose that, where other campus universities at the same time, the larger campuses and universities in the system that happen to be traditionally white institutions, were getting millions to maintain their facilities. From there, we became keenly aware that in order for things to happen for Morgan, it was going to have to happen with the governor.
They left Baltimore by mid-morning. Destination, Annapolis. Purpose, to show support for student leaders who will meet with Governor Schaefer to discuss the students' concern for more state funding for Morgan State University.
We want to be here until we get our point across.
Once they arrived, they sang songs.
We cannot come to the Capitol and be afraid. We needed to put the pressure on the governor to act now. We also discovered that there had been master plans for Morgan's development that were over 25 years old, but those plans had never been funded.
So we started discovering, oh, this is bigger than like the maintenance part. Maybe this is part of the plot. Don't give them money, enrollment goes down, right?
The research said that it wasn't the faculties, it wasn't the students, it wasn't the alumni, and surprise, it wasn't the president. It was the neglect that has attended our historically black colleges. Neglect by the state, by elected officials, to provide the resources that would make the university as competitive as any other university on the face of the earth.
So what we needed to do is we needed to call for the immediate renovations of some of our worst on-campus dormitories. We figured if we would start there, then it would create kind of a momentum where you're having to take the buildings down. And so if you take those buildings down, you got to begin building something new. We had elevated our arguments and our positioning of our demands from internal Morgan issues about registration or financial aid to now statewide issues that only the governor and the state could address, which included investment in personnel, faculty and staff, making sure that we have security that we need on campus, lighting on campus, and of course, the immediate renovation of our on-campus facilities.
It really set the table for Morgan to move forward. And not only in the state of Maryland for higher ed, but all over in the country. And in other words, the university has grown leaps and bounds. So I think the legacy of that sit-in and that protest is what we're seeing today.
It inspired Dr. Richardson to retire and take on the lawsuit to the state of Maryland because he saw what was going on. And we went down there and said, all this money is going to these other places and we're not getting our fair share.
It required a lawsuit against the state for a historic practice of discrimination to trigger the state to do what it needed to do on behalf of all the 4 HBCUs and address that past historic underfunding. So we think that what we were able to accomplish in 1990, in fact we know it, planted the seeds that ultimately wound up being settled for $577 million.
You know, some of us put our tuitions, scholarships on the line, our jobs on the line. I put my job on the line, I work for housing. I'm not supposed to be out here protesting, you know? And I was doing some protesting and then go back and make sure they weren't looking for me. And then I'm back to the, I could see the dorm from where the protest was going on. So to see where Morgan State University is now, to see the respect that it gets It's a national treasure. Now it's called a national treasure. And look at the money they get. Could you imagine this national treasure having condensation, make it look like it's raining in the hallways of the dorm? That's what we were living through. So we knew it was a national treasure. I had heard about Morgan State from my brother and my uncle and other people. I knew what this was. We needed the world to know what that was. So now when we raise our voice up, they listen. They marched 32 miles. I watched us become adults. Now, of course, you don't become an adult in 6 days, but I watched it turn on collectively for the group, that this is real and we have a voice and we can impact. In America, in the state of Maryland, being black in 1990, we can make a difference.
What if nothing comes of it?
Something will come of it.
Put your money where your mouth is. I got change, I could do it like a house bid. Now let's bang. Put your money where your mouth is. I got change, I could do it like a house bid. Now let's bang. Put your money where your mouth is. I got change, I could do it like a house bid. Now let's bang. Put your money where your mouth is.
These were the students who took part, and Shireen Bunting said to me, my name is at the bottom and I want you to take it. Bring it back, but take it. So she circled it to make sure that we knew. And I often call her a radical successor. You're a radical, you're Angela Davis.
Be the champions, dog, never losing. Get it, I got it, deliver to go. Never gonna stop it, I take it a blow. What I get to it, they never can know. What I get to it, I'm back at it, though. My time like a python, I'm an icon, I got this. Never go stop it, we take it.